Today's video will show my second attempt at an antler handled knife. The steel used will be an offcut from a butcher cleaver that was repurposed for another type of knife. Here I'm drawing out the profile of the offcut to try and figure out what kind of shape I should determine for the new knife. Now that I have the basic profile of the knife, it's time to take it to the grind wheel to smoothen out the edges. Because it's a smaller piece of steel, sometimes I used a couple of magnets to hold the piece in place while I tried to grind the profile on them. The steel that is now the tang of the knife is too hard to drill through. Using a blowtorch to heat up the tang will take the temper out of that steel, making it soft enough for me to drill through it later. Here I am changing the profile of the blade. Although I had initially decided on a profile that looked something like a tanto blade Later on, I decided I just wasn't happy with that profile anymore. Here I am back on the belt sander again, refining the profile. For the handle, I'm going to use a piece of elk antler that was given to me by a friend. The antler is a little bit too curved for what I want to use it for, so we're going to straighten it out. The first step is to soak it in water for a few days. After the antler has been soaking in water for a few days, the next step is to boil it for 20 minutes. and then let it dry and cool while it's in a vise. Once the piece of antler has been more or less straightened out, we're going to heat it up a second time, and this time it's to install it onto the knife tang. After 20 minutes, we try sliding it onto the tang. If it's heated properly, it goes most of the way. Just before the final fitting, I've added a leather washer to make sure that the seal is nice and tight. While straightening out the antler, a crack developed in the piece of material. Here I'm using a trick to repair it that was taught to me by a knife maker in the interior of British Columbia. A little bit of baking soda and some industrial crazy glue, and we'll be able to fill in that void. Here I'm back on the belt sander, refining the shape of the handle to what I will consider to be comfortable for my hand. sanding for polishing up the brass. Now it's time to adjust the length of the handle. The feel of the handle is good, and I'm happy with the look of it. So we're going to go on to finishing the blade. Although maybe unorthodox, a quick use of an orbital sander takes away a lot of the file marks that were created earlier on in the project. And after a final polishing with the 600 grit sandpaper, it's onto the strop wheel. Yep, I think that'll do. And that's it. Thanks for watching.